tint base. This is all stuff that you're gonna you learn over and over and over again. Right? You're gonna have to experiment and teach yourself color theory. Because color theory isn't something that I can tell you it in theory and you'll be like, yeah. But you haven't experienced it until you've experienced it. Like, color theory is a pain in the butt. But it's amazing to know it because then you can actually have a conversation. So like, imagine if you're a graphic designer and you're at a press check for your annual report that you've laid out and designed, and they're printing it, and the color is too warm and you wanted a cool color, you go, that blue is way too warm. They go, oh, we're sorry. Turn some knobs and try to fix it. You can actually have a conversation with somebody. So about fixing color. Or if you're a painter and you're having problems, you know, you're like, hey, somebody help me fix this color. So this has a little, this is called tint base. Now, in theory, when you take this out, guys, you always go flat like this. See how I'm going flat? Keep it flat, scrape it off. Now, we only have one can of this, so we can't totally eat it. They only had one can, but I got that's back ordered for some reason. So this is tint base. Now, theoretically, if I take this tint base, you notice something? It's not white. It's transparent. Yeah. So this is why you don't use white to change your color. You use transparent base to change your color. Because the problem with adding white is you change your color so much that you can't use it as in a sophisticated way. You can't add other color to it. You're going to kill the color if there's white in it. In this case, if we use tint base and we use two colors and they mix, there's no white messing up the color mixing. So, I'm going to take half of this, guys, and I'm going to take my half of my green. Notice that that's not very much green. And I'm going to mix it with my tint base. Now watch this. Look what I just did to that color. I knocked it back. I made it a lot less bright than this, right? And it's transparent. Now when this dries, I'm actually going to be able to come in with another color. And this is why you don't add white. Because if you added white, when I come in with my other color that I don't want it touching white, I can actually come in and, whoops, I'll be able to go over it and it'll actually mix with it and lay on top of it in a proper way. If that color had white in it, it would change my orange. Does that make sense? It needs to dry before you draw over it, but you can see how that totally changes the color. Let's make something else transparent. Let's change this, right? Because I like this color, it's just a little too dense. And the base, the nice thing about the base is it can take a color and really make it kind of really nice and like colory, but not be overwhelming. That's not so overwhelming now. The tint base allows you to knock back your color. Most people add a little bit of tint base to all their ink to extend it, but also gives it some kind of chroma. See how the paper's coming through? See how dense that is? See how now the paper's coming through and creating a bright color? So believe it or not, it does a handful of things. Makes the ink really kind of bright, even though you're not cutting it a little bit. Lets the paper color come through and show off some intensity. So the tint base allows you to make something that's transparent, so that when you come in and you want to print something over the top of it, it'll actually lay on top of it. So for example, like your images, they're opaque. It would be better that that background image was not totally that kind of transparent, but maybe more like that, you know, like so that your next color could actually sit on top of it and we'd see it. So sometimes when you're printing big areas, it pays to do it in transparent color because then you can come in and print, you know, your ink on top of it or use a colored piece of paper. Does that make sense? So that's why we don't add white to our ink, because then it can contaminate future inks that go on top of them. So then the problem is I didn't bring my wax paper. I'll bring it Wednesday. Is you need wax paper to save this. You wrap it up in wax paper, you put it in your drawer. Does that make sense? You save this. You don't want to waste it. Now, if anybody in your class wants those other colors, you let them have it, because we don't want to waste the ink. The nice thing is that you can always make this darker. You can say, well, I didn't quite like that. You know, and you can modify it later. You can think about it. You can say, if you save it and then you go to print it and it's not the right color, you can mess with it later. So you can play around with it.
So the tint base doesn't necessarily like make it lighter until it's on the paper?
Yep. It doesn't make it lighter until it's on the paper. That's why I'm doing all these drawdowns. It's kind of a nice color. And believe it or not, the more time you spend here making ink, playing around, like this is kind of a sanguine color. I didn't realize how sanguine this is. You start to find color combinations too that you like. You know, I'm gonna take half of this. You notice I'm always taking half. I'm saving something and then I'm taking it and changing it. I just want to see what happens. You guys are all gonna know kind of what color you want, and so then you'll just make it or go buy it. Ooh, that's nice. It's kind of a nice olivey green, right? If it would actually behoove you to write down what you're doing, because you're gonna forget. Because what if you need to make it again? That's the other problem with color, is that you get this color and you don't know how you got there. Now, I always know I start with this trifecta here of primary colors, right? It really is kind of the trinity of colors, because it's the three things that you can use to make all the colors. And if you start with these three colors and they're right, you're going to get a good color. It's going to be really chromatic. It's going to be bright and crisp. You won't kill in your color and make it weird. If you're using these, I have no idea what's going to happen to you. You know what I mean? Because they're weird inks. This seems more magenta-like, doesn't it? But look at how warm this looks next to that, guys. Looks like it has orange in it. Orange is another color that's really hard to make. Yeah, see this, guys? Look at this. This has orange in it. Look at this. This has yellow or orange in it. See that? Can you tell that some of you? Is anybody colorblind? Does anybody know if they're colorblind? It's a funny thing, because colorblind is kind of a misnomer. It's just that you don't see the full spectrum. You're seeing it differently than us, you know? See how this is warmer? It's more like this. It has a little warmth in it, especially when it gets transparent and thin. Let's see. I'm going to do a little drawdown. I like that. I'm going to remember that that's a warm ink, because that comes in handy to have a warm ink. Let's do this magenta down next to it. Yeah, you can see how deep, and that's more blue. You guys see that? More blood, red. Not a lot of orange. And you see them together, it makes sense. That's more orange, maybe. Maybe it was I don't know. Maybe it was more blue when it was new. Like that's an orangey red up there on Red Bull, right? Red Cloud, sorry. So, any questions about transparent base or mixing colors or inks? So here's the task for you guys, or the thing that you need to worry about. You're going to be making these two color prints. You really have to decide on what color you want, or colors you want, and you're going to need to sit down and either make them with what we have here. You can actually, let's say that you can actually get this process. This is called process yellow, and the process blue, and the process magenta in smaller tubes. It's not very expensive if that's a route you want to go. The other thing to do is just say, well, I'm going to modify these colors to get what I want, or I'm going to go and buy. You can actually buy just a tube, a small thing of ink that you want. You know it's the color you want. Just go get it, and then just use it right out of the can. You can modify it a little bit. You can make it transparent. All those kinds of things. Now you have to buy printmaking ink. You can't buy paint, because paint's too loose, it's too oily, and it will fill in your plate. Those are the only really restrictions. And it really won't cost you that much, because you're going to commit to this project. And you want it to look good, you want good color.
What is the kind of ink? What is it called exactly?
I'll give you a list of stuff, okay?
Okay.
And I'll post it on Moodle too. I was going to give that to you on Wednesday. Then you can either save this or throw it away. Same thing with cleanup. We need to clean it all up, save the ink, whatever ink you need to save. And then clean it all up. You see how this is its own job? Like you really can't do this and then expect to print. Because this actually takes a little longer than you think. Like I'm not done here. Like I don't know what colors I want, right? But I'm starting to see some nice relationships. I like this color maybe. These two colors are nice together. Maybe that dark is nice on that red, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, you know, I like that color a lot, this sanguine. I'm calling it sanguine because it reminds me of this color that Charbonneau makes. See how it's kind of orangey and yellowy? That's maybe why they called it yellow, right? Isn't that funny? It looks brown. But when you do a drawdown, it's actually quite yellow. Right? Has a lot of yellow in it. So I like that color actually. So I actually use this time to kind of figure out color relationships. Do I like those next to each other? Would I like that on top of that? Do I want that transparent? And I just kind of have this conversation and I do little drawdowns and I figure it out. It's just work, really. Any questions about that? Does that make sense?